All right, cool, Dan. Well, thanks for coming on. I know we met briefly at Bev Francis a couple months back. I saw you were shooting with Sadiq, and I work out there every single day. And I usually don't see people with cameras, and then I noticed, this guy was shooting, and I took a peek down and see what you were shooting with. I'm like, this guy, I got to go talk to this guy. You had a pretty big official looking rig. Usually people go in there with DSLRs and tinier camera setups, but I'm like, this guy, I should probably go talk to him.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, I'm glad we met, and I'm glad we're here doing this, dude.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for bringing me on. Yeah, the DSLR mirrorless game for content's definitely something I've had like a love-hate relationship with. I think as much as I know that they sometimes are better tools for the job, I just like absolutely despise filming with photo cameras. There's just the limitations. For me, I don't have photo in my background, so the limitations of like I don't know, even like we had a EOS R Mark II on the shoot last week, and like I was like, why can't I just have a shutter angle? Like, or why can't I project the menu in full screen? And why does it have to have HDMI? Like, it just little things like that just irk me. That's just me being a dinosaur and stuck in my ways. But sometimes I think that I should probably get a mirrorless camera to shoot with in some conditions. But yeah, that's funny.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned like the fact that you think you should have a DSLR. I think I should have a more beefier setup. I just got the FX3 maybe not even a year ago at this point. I upgraded from the A7 III. So I've always been on the small bodies, but
Hmm.
now I'm like, I'm already rigging this guy up to the point where he's like competing with like a box camera setup, and it's just like weird, and it's not like everything's not like, tight and compact. And I'm like, damn, I probably should have got like an FX6 or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons. I think the FX3 is one of the best cameras on the market right now for the value. But yeah, it really just comes down to what kind of work you do, man. And like,
Hmm.
we can talk about gear all you want, but it's like the fixation on gear is easy to get lost into. But in reality, it's about what's the right tool for the job, as you know. And when you look at your clientele, it's like, okay, so 90% of my revenue is coming from social media content. Why would I need to buy? Even for me, like I've times I've toyed with the idea of buying an Alexa Mini. What would that 10%? Would that 10% of my business really? Would the ROI really be there? And it's like no. So
Hmm.
I'm a camera. I don't like shooting personally. Like I'm more of a camera enthusiast that as a producer I value what cameras do and I find them fascinating. And I've gone through so many cameras over the years, just like buying, trading, like just trying different brands out. And all in all, it's like there's a few that really stood out to me. And the reason why they worked so well is because they were just the right tool for the clients that were paying me to do the most work during the year.
Hmm. It's all about
So
like what's the actual application versus what's the wow factor I get from buying something,
yeah,
which
I
I
mean,
find a lot of people fall into.
oh yeah, and I think it's easy and fine to do that. It's just, I think personally, after like 2020, we had like the C70, the Komodo, the C300 Mark III, the FX3 soon after, the A7S III. I think after the 2020 splurge of like epic cameras, there just hasn't been like a dramatic change in my opinion. Like, yeah, there's new features and things like that, but like the sensors from that era are still so relevant today. Like now I'm more into like buying cameras that came out 5 years ago that were like high end and
Mm.
out of my budget. And then I'm enjoying the beautiful attributes they have now. And I pay like very low because it's all about margin too. If I can't pay the camera off fast enough, it's just a burner. And that's just not how I like to operate, and I've made that mistake. I mean, I shot with the Red Komodo for 5 years as my A camera. The camera's initially designed as a crash cam. One of the most annoying cameras I've ever had in my life, ergonomically, just based on the menu design, because I was making it something it wasn't. But from a wow factor from clients, from a wow factor from people around me, it's probably the camera that I've by far had the most attention from on site. And I think at times that does help you, especially if you're at like an event. I mean, it's kind of cringe, but like someone will be like, well, you have a red, so you should probably get closer. Like that kind of stuff people say or said at the time. So I think like perception is valid too, you know.
Hmm. It's perceived
Um,
value. I think it comes down to the client's perceived value of like, what are you showing up with, but also like, okay, yeah, but can you use the tool correctly? Because I know a lot of people, they buy it and then they don't, either A, they don't know how to use it properly, or B, they don't use it to its full potential. So it's like,
yeah,
why did you buy it? You know, you could have just done that job on like an FX3 or a mirrorless Sony body. So it's all a game. I think a lot of it is also the companies, they want to, they want to turn a profit. They want to release a new camera. Sony doesn't want everyone to stick on an FX3 for the
yeah.
next 5 to 10 years. They want to come up with the new FX3 Mark II or whatever they have in their back pockets. But yeah, it's all a tool. And this kind of like segues into the first topic I wanted to get into with you is, speaking of tools, is like the education when it comes to film in school. Because I know you have a film education background, but I saw a couple of your episodes. You have like a small podcast on your page where you talk about pressing issues or different topics in the film world. So I wanted to know, what did you see that film school was lacking, and how did you sort of excel and take initiative past the initial, film education? What was the hole, and how did you fill it?
I think the hole for anyone going to film school is the fact that no one's going to, outside of the projects in your curriculum, no one's going to make you do films and videos in general, make you produce any type of content. So, I sucked at school. I still do suck at school. If I go to it, I'm horrible. I'm a hands-on learner. There's classes at Full Sail, which is known for being a hands-on school, that I barely passed because I didn't pay attention. I have horrid ADHD, especially in lecture environments. I'm not proud to say that, but what I did do throughout from literally the first day I got there, was I saw a abundance of people wanting to create content. I saw an abundance of people who had gear that I didn't have access to, or talents that I didn't have access to prior, but I knew we could collaborate. And dude, I just made content the entire time I was in school. And I think I was more focused on the content I was making outside of class up until we would actually produce content through the curriculum. And that was just such a win for me, just having a resources available. But I don't want to be rude, but a lot of people I went to, like, not a lot of people, but people that went to the school I went to love movies, and that's why they went to film school. Loving movies is not the same as making movies. And that's kind of a hard reality, I think, for some people. I think some people, and I understand this, I envy this, but they like are able to escape in a movie, and it's like this fictitious like escape from reality, and it's very like, it's like a euphoric and relaxing and nostalgic feeling to have. And so they connect that with, well, I want to make this. But unfortunately, making movies is a very laborious job. It's a very time consuming and sporadic job. So a lot of people that I worked with or tried to collaborate with, I did find that, hey, this just isn't for me. Like this project, we're new, so it's taking way longer than it should. It's not looking as good as it should. This is a lot harder than I thought. This isn't the right path for me. And I think at a younger age, I kind of was like, how would you not know this isn't the right path? Like, how would you not know this is how it is,
Hmm.
to some people? But now, as I'm realizing, people have to experience things to understand if it's the right thing for them. And I think, to me, that was the biggest thing, is just film school isn't going to do a lot for you unless you are aggressive and a bit ambitious about coming there with a purpose, and that's to become a better content creator. And I'm a producer, so it made sense for me to go to school, because even though I fought and fought and fought the fact that I wanted to only be a director for many years, the reality was the thing that I was gravitating towards excelling in, the thing that I was being acknowledged for, was my skills as a producer. And that requires knowing all aspects of production, to manage a team, to be respectful to a team, and understand all the avenues to where you can communicate in departments and stuff like that. So, yeah, there was times it was really hard for me to like stay focused, like production design, makeup. I had a hard time staying in focus on those classes because I just didn't personally like have a lot of interest in them. But now I can honestly say there's only been like there's two things that I wasted time in Full Sail, and that was learning Avid. I think that was like we spent like 4 months learning Avid. I never applied that skill to my. I never. It was just not a useful time. And then the other part was I'm not saying this was a waste, but it was learning film because I never applied film. I never shot on film after I graduated. So I appreciate the art of film, and I still would love to do that. But those are the two things that I never really applied after school. Everything else, I mean, I have no regrets because I've literally used my entire education to take my journey to where it is. And I'm not where I want to be, but there's definitely been times where my understanding of the things I learned there gave me the confidence or gave me the mic to allow myself, gave me like the chance to actually like sound like I knew what I was doing to try to get there, if that makes sense.
I like how you said making movies is different than loving movies or like appreciating movies, because I felt the same way. I was actually a film major my first semester in school. So I just
Mm,
graduated from Hofstra in May of this
nice.
year. And
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. And I was a film major. It was a filmmaking bachelor of fine arts. And I remember going into it, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I've always loved, making little home videos. And I was also doing photography and videography in high school. So I thought this was the great path. Um, and I remember going to a couple classes. It was a lot of theory. It was a lot of analysis and cinema studies. Like we'd watch a movie and then we'd have to write an essay about it. And the kids would love that. And they would be like, I love thinking about like the different applications and theories and like appreciating art. I was always like, why am I watching stuff? I want to make stuff. I don't want to have to, constantly watch other people's things. Meanwhile, I'm sitting on my couch. I want to be making stuff and getting better because those people that I'm watching also did that. They were getting better. They were making their own content. I'm not saying film theory is not valuable at all, but I, like you, was always in that boat of like, I just want to be out there making stuff. So the classes you said, were a lot of them the analysis and like cinema study style classes?
No, I actually chose Full Sail from the start because it was half and half, if not more hands on. So
Gotcha.
you spend the first part of the day in a lecture room, and then you spend the second part of the day in a lab where you're on site with the gear. So that worked well for me. There were courses that were very lecture based. Unfortunately, like producing was strictly lecture based. That was the class that I was looking forward to the most, and I think it was one of the most. I didn't get as much out of that as I was anticipating. But I also at that point kind of realized you just really have to. There's no set path on any of this, and you just kind of have to figure out how to make your own and stick with it. So that was the last course, the last 2 months of the year, and I was just like, I think everyone was pretty much scrambling to figure out like what they were actually going to do with their careers because in 2 months we were going to be out as
Mm-hmm.
freelancers. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think going to like a university that's a little more like other universities that are 4-year degrees. Full Sail is a bachelor's in 21 months, so it's expedited. Others that are doing 4 years, you're gonna have like 2, if not 3 years of theory, and then maybe
Yep.
1 year of like actual production. I mean, it depends, but I considered that, but like you just said, it just wasn't the right audience for me. Like I wasn't the peers weren't on the same mindset as me with my goals. I didn't really actually, to be honest, I didn't want to go to college. Initially, I really just wanted to start a video business because I had already kind of started tapping into freelance production. My parents have always been really supportive in my endeavors, and when I kind of got into video, they were like, we'll support you with this, and if you want to stay home for a year and go to a community college, so you can just focus on school or focus on learning what you want to do and trying things, we'll support you. So the first year I graduated after high school, I stayed home and I shot on mini DV, and I started like a little small video company, and I just filmed people working out, which
Mm.
suck. The videos are terrible, but I filmed people working out, and I made a couple $100 here and there. And then I made a short film. I co-wrote a short film after doing a PA gig. I got inspired by a storyline, and I wrote a film. I produced the film, and then it started getting in the festival circuit, and then I went to Full Sail. So it was a good way for me to kind of like, I needed to be a little ahead, I think, just to, because that's better for me to try. I'm such a trial and error learner. So I kind of like went through the ropes, made my first short, make true film, and I was able to kind of go into school with some confidence and, just ready for more and ready for the next project.
I kind of like that you sort of tested the waters, so to speak, when you started or before you started at school, just to see like if this is actually something you want to do. Because I think a lot of people go into it without any idea or concept of what to expect, whereas you sort of took that initiative, found out, okay, is this something what I really want to do, and then was like, okay, I'm going to commit to that. So I do love that, and I think that's a great way to sort of dip your toes in and then expand. So then
Yeah.
after you graduated, you freelanced for a couple years, right? And you sort of was that period of freelancing hard as a transition from going to school and then just kind of back at it, or I guess you had a lot of experience before you went to school, so.
I mean, freelance is always hard. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was definitely hard. I had, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, because there's other people that may not be in the same situation as me. Like, my mom was basically like, I'll pay your rent for 6 months. If, but after that, you're done. And she paid my rent. It was like $750 a month. I had a roommate, but I had to pay for all my living expenses. So basically, I needed to make, at the time, this was in 2012, I needed to make like 2,000 a month to like, that's what I needed to make.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like configured it out with like expenses, savings, and everything like that. She's like, I'll pay your rent for 6 months. So that was basically the end of the lease, and I just started going for it, man. I mean, I used Craigslist a lot. At the time, Craigslist was actually a very valid place to get work. I think it's a little different now, but I took so many random gigs. I was living in Central Florida, so there was a lot of entertainers and uh, I guess like amusement attraction people. So like I worked for a pilot that did private plane tours over Disney World. Like I did some videos of him for him. I did videos for I filmed a really rich woman's daughter's 8-year-old birthday party, and it was a choreographed music video. And that was like my thing at the time, is I did music videos. So I wanted to be a music video director. So I was pumping them out. I started growing a network because during college, the last 2 months, I directed a video that at the time did really well for YouTube. The band got signed to a fairly large metal label right after the video came out. And I mean, I gave that thing my all. And that video kind of got me in a niche of like death metal and metal. And unfortunately, that niche market doesn't have a large budget for videos, but it got me on the map in the area. And the South Florida, and especially South Florida, the Florida but South Florida scene of metal at the time was pretty big. So I was kind of getting in the mix there. So every month I was directing at least one music video. Now some of these videos, the budgets were like $1,200. Others were larger, but that was like what I was doing. And then on the side, I was doing random gigs here and there. There was a couple of times though, it was hard for me because, I took this one gig. It was like ESPN Worldwide of Sports. I was like a videographer holding a DV camera, filming youth girls lacrosse for 3 days. And I was sitting on a forklift and just filming girls playing
Wow.
lacrosse. And they were like, oh, dude, it was just a long 12-hour days. The guy would like come up at like noon and slap a pizza box on your forklift and then zoom away on his golf cart. And then, yeah, it was awful. It was $125 a day. So I did that
Oh
job,
wow.
and yeah, it was brutal. But now let's rewind though. This is in 2012. So I would say like a 150 is probably equivalent to like a PA making like 225 today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to be relevant with rates, still low, but it's not as bad at the time. But yeah, I was just taking whatever. And at that gig, I met this guy who was a producer, and he was just came from LA. His wife was a nurse, and he was just like really cool. We just really hit it off. He was older than me, 30. He was like in his early 30s. I was 21, but we hit it off right away. And I started talking to him about the resources I had available at my college. I was like, I have an Ari Alexa. I have a 3-ton 3, 4, 5 ton grip packages, depending on who I hire. I have these amazing instructors that I can hire. I've built this network. I just need the clients. And he's like, I think I've got some clients. And he had been building a business himself in the area. And we started working together pretty soon because we hit it off, but also we filled each other's voids. He loved big productions and he wanted that experience, and I was able to facilitate that. So I would say like this was in March. So this was 3 months after graduation. March, we worked together and we closed a $40,000 fitness video. It was a workout video, massive for big budget. It
Mm-hmm.
was a very large project, and we closed it together, and we shot it on an Ari Alexa, which just had come out at the time. We used a big studio. We had a big crew, and it was awesome. And it really like catapulted a momentum for us as business partners. And he owned the business, but I facilitated the direction the business was going. And yeah, we crushed it, man. That first year was like really good. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was like financially like amazing. Like, I mean, at the time, I think looking back, I think I made like 70K that year. But I was like, dude, uh, we're
Mm-hmm.
doing it. Cool. Next year, made 20,000. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So just kind of give you the perspective of freelance, because we signed some big accounts. The big accounts were great. They didn't need us again. We were dead. Um, it was terrible. I was depressed. I wasn't working. I was just like I was broke, and I was just like, it made me feel the reality of this industry is that, hey, last year I was making so much money. To me at the time, it was an amazing income, and I went from that to like barely being able to pay my bills. Um, and that was the first time I got a hit of what freelance is like. And the dips haven't been that intense since then, thank God. But they've certainly been. It's certainly been a roller coaster up and down, because, I mean, there as much as you want to try to create consistency, you're really just it's just so dependent on so many factors. So yeah, basically that was my journey with freelance after school.
So, what did you, when you've kind of hit that second year and you realized the results were drastically different? What did you learn from it? What did you take away from it? And how did you apply that to moving forward? Okay, I'm gonna, take this knowledge, take this experience, and then I'm gonna tackle freelance in a different way.
Definitely, and this is something that, like, if anyone can take anything out of this that's doing freelance video or content creation, don't put your eggs in one basket. If you do, you're going to be screwed. I always say it takes a quarter to drive in new business. For me, at least, it takes 3 months of like discussion, quotes, pricing, negotiating, scheduling, implementation, deposit received. So if you're on this retainer and you're making, let's say you're on a mid-level retainer and you're a solo videographer, you're making 4 grand a month from one account, you got other business coming in, then suddenly that retainer just says, hey, after this month you're done. If you don't have other opportunities in the back end that are brewing or have been brewing, you're going to be out 4 grand the next month and probably the next couple months as you recoup. And unfortunately, that was the first time I learned that. But then I signed a very large account in 2021, the largest account I've ever had, and it was a retainer. And it was the same way. I had a lot of personal things happening in my life, good things, like my wife and I had our son, and like my life was a little more. I needed a little more stability, so the retainer came at a really good time, and it was a really high margin retainer. but they ended it 6 months in, and the last 6 months of that year were pretty rough too. So it's hard, but I say now that's kind of how that's what I've learned, and I try pretty hard now to just not have that happen.
Hmm. I like that. I
Um,
think it's almost like a lot of people don't want to do that, like you're saying, like the 3-4 months of just getting those clients, acquired and on a
yeah,
retainer basis and a contract. A lot of people expect it to just be quick and not as hard to do or not as consistently you have to do it. But I think that's really how you get ahead and get stability. So I do like that approach. So you did work between now and your first freelance sort of run. You did have a sales job in between there, and I want to talk about this because I think it's important to show, okay, getting out of freelance and then coming back to it, and the struggles through that. What what was that period like for you, and why did you sort of go, okay, I'm gonna go into the sales? Was it because of the stability?
no, definitely not. It was because I wanted to make money. Um, I just was like I was just sick of being so broke and just barely able to pay my bills, feeling bad about myself. I just kind of got over it. I was just like, this sucks, and I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to be a like I just saw I didn't see the I didn't have a path, and I knew that unless I figured out a path, I was just going to be wandering around aimlessly, um, and just getting more digging myself deeper in depression. So basically, what happened was I that year I did so poorly with the business. Um, we kind of like we were working like we had like 15 hours a week of work together, so I had a lot of time. So I didn't have enough freelance opportunities either because that's just so feast or famine. So I took a job in an industry that I've always been passionate about, which is health and fitness. So I got a job as a nutrition advisor at a nutrition store. So I would basically like talk to people and help people choose sports nutrition supplements or weight loss supplements in order for them to reach their goals. And it was an independent store. It was based from a. It was the owner was a franchise owner from a company that I always had a lot of respect for, Max Muscle. So they're more West Coast, just very nostalgic in the bodybuilding world as just like a rooted brand. And I've always had a lot of passion for the sports nutrition industry. So I was like, I think I need to get in here and I need to work and do something so I feel like I'm doing something with my time. And I started I started working with him, and I wasn't getting paid much. It was like $12 an hour plus commission. But it started like I started making good getting clients, and I started having people coming every month and getting people on the right track with their plans. And I wasn't doing like diet advice, but I'd been bodybuilding and doing fitness my whole life, so I could guide someone on a lean muscle stack and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
it was working and it felt good. It was rewarding when someone would come in and they were like, dude, I can see my abs. And they'd be like, thank you. And I'm like, no, dude, you did the work. Thanks for trusting me to help you guide and give you that guidance. That felt really good. But as I started working there, nutrition reps from different brands would come in. And this was, mind you, this was before the e-retail space was growing to that point of ruling out brick and mortar stores. So you would still go to a store to get your protein powder. You wouldn't buy it online all the time. Um, so I started meeting a lot of people in the industry. And I just was like, so you basically go around to stores and just make sure they're happy, make sure they know about the products that they're selling that you represent, and you make like 60 to 100K a year. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. I want to do that. And it's really tight to get in. It was tough, but I started networking, and eventually an opportunity came up where I was able to get in with a team, and I started out with like part-time work with the company, doing demo work, going to like driving to Tampa from Orlando, setting up a table, giving out samples at an event. And it was like, a couple things here and there. And they were like, hey, we got a full-time job. Do you want it? And are you interested? And it was a big company with a big corporate company, benefits, everything. And I was like, let's do it. Um,
Mm.
the pay wasn't that great, to be honest. I mean, it was like, it was, It wasn't that great for the amount of travel I had to do, but I was young, single, and open to trying it out. So yeah, I would just like basically the job would be like the territory I had. No one had any representation from my brand. So I would walk into these stores in the middle of these small towns, and I would have to go in and try to meet the owner and have them trust me and befriend me to start a relationship. And it was I was nervous because I had a lot of social anxiety at the time. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to be good at this. I think I'm going to be terrified. But I don't have social anxiety when I have passion. And I had a lot of passion for what I was doing. And I'm not the best salesman, but I'm really good at building relationships. And I really, to this day, I really am thankful and proud of the relationships I built during that job, because that taught me a lot about how to build relationships with clients and how to have long-term relationships. And, but in the middle of that journey, I just started feeling so insecure, especially when people were like, well, where'd you go to school? And I was like, I went to film school. And they're like, you're doing sales and you go to film school? Okay, I guess you failed. And I started really losing my identity as a filmmaker, as a content creator. And it was really hard. I started really realizing like, you're not doing the right thing. And you're fitting in and you're looking the part, but this isn't you, man. And towards the end, I look back at photos and stuff, and I was like, I did look the part. I molded myself to look and feel like I was that cool guy that walked into the store that I wanted to be like. But I wasn't doing what I wanted to do with my life. I wasn't doing what I was truly made to do in my life. So I kind of hit this rock bottom point. But then one of my accounts was Muscle and Strength. And the owner and I started talking, and he was like, you do video? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you should try to, he's like, all right. So we talk a little bit, and then he was just like, a couple weeks later, he emails me. He's like, I'd like to give you a shot at trying to make a video for Muscle and Strength. We're trying to grow our YouTube. So I was like, cool. And my boss at the sales job was like, do whatever they say. You know, they're a big account. So I did it, and it worked out really well. The video went viral. It was a really cool video, and it was a big success. And I edited it in the hotel rooms, traveling on my job. And I was really like, I didn't expect it to do as well as it did, but it did really well. And it sucked. I mean, it's not a good video, but it still did well. I shot it on a Canon 7D with
What
a
was
50
the video?
millimeter lens. It's called the 100-pound dumbbell challenge and it was basically these guys would do 100-pound dumbbell presses, and they would have to go to failure the first set, and then after that, try to get 100 pounds for 100 reps. So whoever could get to 100 reps first would win. The kicker is obviously you're going to failure the first set. So
Yeah.
if you're doing 30 reps and then you fail, you know, the next set, you're not going to get 30. You're going to probably get like 60, 70%, depending on how
Yep.
strong you are. So, so we did that video. It did really well. And then the sales company I was working for was like, well, we want you to try to do video for us. So then they flew me out and had me do some video for this conference at a seminar. And the guy that was with me we were really hitting it off. And he's like, well, I think you should start the video department at our company. And I was like, yeah, maybe. It sounded appealing because they had a marketing office in New York, and I wanted to go there. I was like, cool, I moved to Manhattan. So then we started like battling, because then Muscle and Strength wanted to hire me full time. And then my current job was wanting to create a job for me. And we started negotiating back and forth. And salaries started getting discussed. And, ultimately, it just made sense to do the Muscle and Strength job. And I accepted the position. I moved to South Carolina. And I started working full time for them doing video. And I did that for 2 years, and it was an adjustment at first to work in an office. It was an adjustment to have a boss and in the office with you. But I needed it. I needed to learn that. I needed that experience. It was an adjustment to just work 9 to 5 and just get that routine, that experience of what it's like to have a normal routine. And there was a lot of growing pains for me. I wasn't a great employee. I didn't do well with like my time management. I had a lot of trouble with like focusing and getting things done on time. Um, but then I started like getting comfortable with things, and then I got an employee, and I started managing, and then I started to really like my job because I wasn't just not only was I doing what I wanted to do with the content, but I also like enjoyed like the content we were making was starting to like grow, and like it was actually like making an impact in the industry. Um, and I started wondering like, I really like this, but I wonder if I could like figure out a way to not do this full time, but still do it as a contract. So I worked through the first year, and I got through the second year. And the second year I had a lot of responsibilities, and I really felt I really enjoyed it. I had a great boss. I still do. I have a lot of respect for him, and I think the way he managed me was the best way for me. He just kind of was like, I'm going to tell you what I want you to do, big picture, and I want you to just do it. And then I learned from that because I would never come to him with problems. I would always come with solutions. And I really enjoyed it, and it was an innovative experience. But I eventually was like, look, I want to start my own thing. I want to go freelance. I'd like to make a little more money. I think we're in a position right now where I could take this job and I could do this as a contractor for you, and you wouldn't have to invest any more money in buying equipment. You wouldn't have to invest any more money in paying employees. It would just be a contract, and I think you're going to get more for it than what you have right now. And he was really supportive about it. I was really nervous pitching the idea, but he was really supportive about it. And we started doing that, and then I started Drescher Visuals.
How do you go about that conversation? Was it? I'm assuming you said you were very nervous, but like, how did you structure it? How did you approach that sort of talk? Was it like an idea in your head you just kind of had for a while, and you're like, I don't know when to do it. Like, should I do it this week, or like, was it just like, I have this idea, I'm just gonna go and just send it?
Yeah. It's tough, man. I mean, it's there's no clear cut answer to that. I think what happened for me though is like I started DV in the middle of 2016. Like I got a business bank account, and I was still working at Muscle and Strength. So basically, my schedule was get up at 7, go to work 9 to 5, drive home, go to the gym, and then adjust and then work for a little bit if I had to for DV, meaning like any editing, and then every weekend I would be shooting and editing. And I started out like I started building some clients, and I started making like 2 grand a month, 3 grand a month. Then I like closed like three. I had 3 retainers, so I was making like I had like 4 grand in retainers towards the end of that 2016 year. So I was like, all right, so if he doesn't accept this, I don't really think I want to pass this up. And I started dating uh, a woman at the time who became my wife, and she was just like, you need to just like focus on this. I believe this is the right path for you. I just you need to really focus on growing what you're building on your own, because this is working, and I think it's going to make more sense. And she was right, but I was really scared. But she was like, she had a good job. We were living together, splitting everything. Our living expenses were really low. And that's a big thing I want to bring up too, man, is like I'm very like financially conservative when it comes to like expenses. I didn't just like make a move like this because it was like it's time. Yeah,
Yeah.
when else are you going to do it? I made the move because I had 15K in the bank. I paid my taxes, and I could live for under $1,500 a month. I'm not saying that's a comparable lifestyle now. I'm just saying I made the move because I could do it, and I had a backup plan if it went to crap. And I know that's not a lot of money, but it was enough to have a business. I owned all my gear. I had no debt. It was enough to make the move, fail, and not be ruined. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes social media kind of like discourages 9 to 5, and they discourage a lot of things about working for someone else. I have no regrets working for someone else. Still to this day, I some of the best things I've learned in my life. And when I work with people who don't, obviously there's exceptions, you can really tell when someone doesn't have that experience, especially when you're working with big corporate clients, because that's who I go after is corporate accounts. And my experience in corporate world allows me to communicate with those people and understand their workflow a little differently. If I had only done music videos, I don't think I would have had that same compatibility. But but yeah, that was a thing. And like the preparation was more just like I did it. I wrote it out. I proposed it, and it was just one of those things. It was like it was just I kind of had made up my mind. I really was passionate about the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to stay as a contractor, and I was really passionate about what we were doing. But I was kind of like, if this doesn't work, I still am gonna have to do this. So I was kind of like,
Yeah.
either we're gonna do it or we're not, and I'm gonna be really upset. But it was a really great experience. Thank you so much.
So you'd say a lot of your background before Drescher Visuals in terms of the corporate etiquettes and the communication you built and that sort of expertise helped you now, and from between the start of Drescher Visuals and now, in acquiring new business and just being a better producer. What are some of those skills that you see, like, even to this day, you're like, okay, I learned all this because of that sort of path I took before.
Cold calling, cold walk-ins.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude, yeah, I'll walk into a business with a flyer. It sounds super cringe, man, I know, but I'll do it. I'll do it to this day. And I've turned cold calls into $5,000 orders for year one, 20,000 for year two, 90,000 for year three, all from cold calling. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that, and I don't love doing it either, but it's taught me to present my services and talk to people who have a compatible service that needs my service. So a lot of companies still to this day, you may think it's a saturated market. They don't have video, but they need it. I will say that there's not everyone needs video. And so I think that was like a thing. But like, I mean, I'll print flyers out and go to people and go to businesses, man. If I'm like, I know
Mm-hmm.
it sounds really lame, but like that, it works. And you got to think about the time. It's like, oh, just do it digitally. You're right. You can do PPC plans, pay per click, and paid media and get your stuff out there. But sometimes just like going in and just being like, hey, man, I do video, hitting it off with somebody. There's somebody there that you just kind of vibe with. They'll remember you, and then sometime down the road they're going to hit you up. Now if you're expecting like immediate things, probably not going to work, but just planting that route in, like, hey, um maybe we could use some video, and I've done that a few times. Now this the percentage is small, so it's a volume game, but I'll make 100 flyers every couple months, and I'll try to get them out, and I think it goes a long way. So those kind of experience, not being afraid to talk about your services, and then um, also just sharing passion. So if someone's like going to have some sort of similarity to you, like if you're connecting on a different level, it really allows more trust in going to business. So I'm not saying this is like why my business is what it is, and I'm not saying I have a extremely successful video agency, but to be able to stay afloat for since 2017 full time, it's got something going on. One of the biggest things is I connect with is when people care about their health. And if someone on the
Yep.
team cares about their health, there's a conversation that I have with that person that connects us in a different way, because health and fitness is a huge part of my life. And I love talking about it with people. And I love it when I meet someone who is on the same page with that. And a lot of really successful business owners are very in tune to their health.
I think this is a great topic, and I was literally just going to ask you, like, when you were talking about things that you connect with people with, it really is the fitness world, and I have even found a lot of external success from just being in the gym and active, and like that's not something I chose to do because of business. I've always just been in the gym. I've always just taken that lifestyle. I've always loved building muscle and getting a pump and whatever. But I think it helps in two ways. Number one, I think a big aspect is just the way you present yourself and your presence. If you are in shape and you are like, you have some muscle and you just feel strong, you look strong, like that rubs off on people. You feel more trustworthy, you come off as more professional, and people may think like, no, it's about like, the way you talk, but no, it's how you look too, and I
Yeah.
think that's a huge aspect in just having a presence and building trust with people. But like you're saying, number two is just connecting with other people. Like if you have a client, you can talk about the gym with them, or you could even like do a workout with a client if you want to do like something. People go on like client outings, hit a lift with a client and talk about different things you guys want to do. But I think
Hmm.
just being active makes you feel better. It helps your business, and there's literally no downsides except for the time factor. But again, you're running a video agency, but you still make time for the gym. I assume you go like how many days a week do you go to the gym?
So, strength training isn't the priority for me right now. I
Mm-hmm.
got into like bicycle racing a couple years ago. I got really into bike racing, and I'm doing a little bit more of a cardiovascular focus
Mm-hmm.
plan. But yeah, I mean, I'm 4 to 6 days of fitness activity a week. I average is six. Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. And also, I want to say for the content side of things, and this isn't knocking people who aren't into fitness, but it creates a better environment on set, like stamina, being able to hold things, not being fatigued after a couple hours. Just that knowledge has like helped me tremendously. I've seen people that aren't aren't doing strength training and they're holding larger camera rigs and they can't do it. They can't do the job because they're not strong enough. And it's not something that I'm like ha, but it's like, my fitness helps my job. It's a hands-on
Yeah.
job, and I'm very thankful for that. So I think that's a big thing. Even if you're not trying to be like a serious athlete, you should still consider doing some sort of fitness activity if you're a content creator, because it's just a way to be healthier and better on your job. Because if you're fatigued on site, you're not going to be sharp, and just
Yeah.
get a couple days a week can really help with that.
Well, dude, even like, I do some jobs where I'm either like ACing or I'm part of a grip team. That stuff is very very physical. I mean, you got to push production carts, you got to like load,
Oh yeah.
a bunch of pelicans on the carts, you got to, you know, boom out a light fixture and raise it up and lock the nut. Like it's very demanding physically. Like, I'll be exhausted by the time I'm like ready to go to the gym after the job, if I do it all, cuz our jobs are sometimes like 14 hours
Yeah.
days. So it's yeah, it just helps, man. It's a great benefit. And like, even when you talk about the way you feel, your creative concept, your ideas are better. I don't know about you, but when I exercise, a lot of the times I'll have like creative ideas that I guess never have thought of, or I just have good ideas when I'm working out, and I actually will pull out my phone in the gym and like be like, okay, I don't want to forget this, because I'm just in like this endorphin mode where I just have such great ideas. So I think it's great. I'm so glad this is like the first guest I can talk about like fitness with fully, because
Yeah.
like, you're big into that. So I'm glad we can have this conversation. But I just think fitness is so important, and I don't think I'll ever compromise to the extent of like never having it in my life. Maybe it'll get like less as I get
Yeah.
older and have more responsibilities, but I think, just that fundamental principle of just going to the gym will, for me, will never change. But I think like you're saying, so how many because you work with Sadiq with muscle and strength, do you do work outside of muscle and strength with clients, and how many like fitness clients do you have?
Now, none. That industry's changed a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
I I don't really go for that industry anymore. I love muscle and strength, and I'm very content with what it does for me, and it fulfills that need for me. But the sports nutrition industry, since social media has really taken off with video, which I believe is around like 2014 is when Instagram allowed the one by ones to come out with 15 seconds. Could be wrong there, but the industry just started like the market got really saturated, and I'm not knocking what's out there, it just stopped being appealing to me to compete with it. It was a volume game. It really appealed to photographers who had already been like in a volume business generating where they like it really let me repeat that. It really appealed to
Mm-hmm.
photographers, I think, that were doing like volume based productions with their clients where there was like X amount of photos per week, and then now they just throw in some video, and the videos are short form. So
Yeah.
as that started changing, I just stopped being as competitive in that field. I produced more like documentary, interview style content, story driven fitness content, and I have a client that really likes that, and I've built an audience that really enjoys that. So unless the client's looking for that in particular, I'm just not getting the same budgets and the same inquiries. So I get some here and there, but right now I don't have any. If it
Mm-hmm.
is fitness, if I do fitness, it's commercial fitness, that's more mainstream. So think. Bowflex ads, things like that are going to be more like commercialized, and those would be the things that I reach out to try to get bid on. Um, but yeah, I just saw the nature of the tone, and I also wanted diversification because I needed more than just fitness to do the type of work I want to do. So, um, my agency does a lot of different types of content, and at one point it was like 99% fitness, and then I set out to like diversify our portfolio, and that took a long time. So it was like year one we kind of had like 85% fitness. Year two we started getting lower, and now we're like at like 30% fitness, and then the rest is like scripted commercial production, 3D animation, 2D animation. I also do a lot of post producing. So I've post produced a feature this year where time management, delegation, scheduling on long form content is something that I really started getting into. So I do a lot of things. And honestly, I pitch a lot of documentaries and features now. I'm parts of teams that are trying to get projects sold and put off the ground to get funding for all the streaming networks. So I just like I think my career just evolved. I don't think I'd be doing this anymore if I was just doing fitness. To be
Mm-hmm.
completely honest, I saw
I
the cap really quick, and that cap is not something that I was interested in, and I kind of moved away.
I think it's a race to the bottom with the fitness space in terms of
Yeah.
prices. I mean, I do like short form video because like that's what people want I guess
Yeah.
nowadays with bodybuilding. Like I go to Bev, so I want to shoot bodybuilders at Bev's that have like they're in their prep process, they're about to have a show, they want like a cool hype video. What I found is that like people just don't have the budget. You're like charging an individual like a couple $100s for like a video that they could just probably just shoot some posing pictures and workout videos with their iPhone that they don't need like that. That's more like just a creative project that you have fun with and that you can shoot. And then also, just like some people aren't even interested in it. They don't. They just think the iPhone is just good enough. Though they don't want they're in their their prep phase, so they don't want the attention. They just kind of want to be in their own zone. Um, so it's hard. I guess the coaching is probably the best way to go in terms of getting clients. Sadiq also always does videos where he's talking about different workouts, trying to sell
Yeah.
his coaching expertise. So I think that's the way to go. And also like the documentary, like you're saying, if you want like a long form style thing. I know a lot of bodybuilders like I'm sure Mark Bone. He does like work with C-Bomb and Jay Cutler. He has some great content. I love that style, and I'm curious as to how he broke into that. But that stuff's really cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that there's definitely like ways you can evolve and adjust. But yeah, like I said, I get my fulfillment out of that one project.
Mm-hmm.
It changes so much too. It's different people on different shows every month. So um, yeah, it's just following, just understanding the market. And I think that like even when we were filming Sadiq, a guy came up and was like, "Can I take some pictures of you to Sadiq?" And he like took pictures, and I think that's like I thought it was cool to see that, but like it just shows to me like where things are at now.
Yep. Yep.
And it's not disrespecting the younger content creators. It's just, it's like, it's just kind of like not the same value, and most guys are doing their own thing now. They're making their own videos and making their own content. Or if someone like that kid, that younger guy, not a kid, he's probably like 20, um, he'll probably do it for free.
So you're saying like, yeah, in terms of like people just offering free work left and right, and like I agree with that. I don't think it's bad if you want to like shoot a DM, like a creator a DM that you want to work with, and be like, hey, like I'll offer you like a free type of thing and see if you like it, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But I think those guys that are big on socials are probably getting DMs like left and right of just free shoot. Oh, you want to do this free shoot because that's just the nature of social media, and like you're saying, the younger content creators. So I think that just brings that threshold to like $0, and then they don't want to pay for anything at that point.
Yeah, and I know like part of our discussion today, we wanted to go into free work.
Yeah.
If you're open to talking about that now, I think this is a
Sure. Yeah. I think wherever it's flowing, it's flowing.
yeah. So I mean, I think you're right. It is nothing wrong with free work, and I think you just have to execute it properly to where it makes sense for you. Because I did a video on, and I posted it on the Creative Producer podcast that we do here and there. And I actually got ripped pretty hard on TikTok for talking about working for free.
Mm.
And I think it's just like the mindset of that, because if I work for free for a guy who's in the gym and he has no social presence and he has no sponsors, yeah, I probably won't get much out of that, to be honest. But if I work for free for someone who is connected or friends or has some path that I want to be a part of, and it's essentially like this. So you might be like, oh, you're using that person. Well, they're using me for free services and
Yeah.
I'm using them for exposure. You have to show your work to get work. And that's really hard for people too, because like they're younger and they don't have a lot of work to show. So when they have their Instagram, it has like 2 videos or 1 video and a picture. It's like you can tell right off the bat that they're trying to brand themselves a certain way, but they don't have enough experience doing the things that they're trying to sell to their clients. So how do you get that experience? You sometimes you have to work for free. And I've always been open to it. And you know, that muscle and strength job that I told you about that I did when I was
Yep.
working first, that was a free job. I mean, that was a 30 hours of work for free. And I ended up doing another shoot after that with them for free, but it turned into a great opportunity. I think you just have to think about it and what's the future of this opportunity? Where will it go? And I think there's a risk at all times, but most of the time, if you do something for free for the right person, it'll pay off in the long run. Or you could just be really creative and have creative control over a story, and then you could just tell a story that's so well done that it gets recognition. I mean, I'm not like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like brag, but like I just produced this like story about something that happened in my life, and we did it in a narrative way, and it was something we did in house just for ourselves, and we posted it on YouTube, and then with the sheer luck, I guess, someone from a software company that offers really great film emulation plugins to many different programs we use reached out and was like, we want you to become an affiliate and we want you to use our software and review it. And they base that on the video. So sometimes just doing things like that where you're just expressing yourself allows people to see a creative style that you may not do with the corporate talking head video that pays the bills.
Are you referring to the bicycle video that the client
Yeah.
reached out to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to talk about that. It was obviously later in the agenda, but we could talk about it now. I wanted to just get a feel because I watched that video and I thought it was great. I thought it was well done. Very very great job at that. But
Thank
I
you.
wanted to know what you were talking about in the video, like your perspective changed, after that incident. If you want to go into it, I don't know if you want to go into it at all. If you don't have to, if you don't, if we could
Yeah, I
totally
mean,
just.
yeah, I mean, we can talk about it for a second. I mean, basically, long story short is I'm an avid cyclist, and I was
Hmm.
riding my bike, and I was riding my bike before a shoot. I was flying to LA that day, so it was like early in the morning, and I had an afternoon flight. And my wife and son were out of town seeing see my wife's my mother-in-law,
Hmm.
and I went out on a ride, and I got hit from behind at 45 miles an hour, and I flew off the bike, and it was a big ordeal. I was pretty banged up, and I luckily didn't have any major injuries, but really bad road rash, some a lot of trauma, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fear, PTSD afterwards, a lot of PTSD from driving in general, and it was terrible. So basically, it was a eye opening experience for me because you know I I don't think sometimes as freelancers, especially when you're younger, you're like, um, what happens if I got like really hurt? I couldn't work. My business is me. So what happens if I'm not making any money because I can't walk or can't shoot or can't edit? Um, those perspectives, those kind of things, like that accident put a lot of things in perspective because I was like, okay, dude, you're 34. You're not gonna be optimal your whole life, and your job is heavily reliant on you. Now, I do have a full-time employee. He's been with me for 8 years. He's like a brother to me. Very thankful for our relationship, but I think it was like one of those realizations of like, hey, man, like this industry, this career path, you're different from everyone else for the most part. There's a few that can relate, but like you really need to think about the people who love you and your family, and you need to think about what would happen if something bad happened to you. You need to think about that backup plan if something bad happened to you and you couldn't do what you're doing right now to make a living. And sometimes when we live in the moment and it's like I'm after the next gig, it's always about the next gig, the next thing. You don't really think about those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Even things like retirement plans. Like you don't think about, I'm just going to always create videos for my rest of my life, I guess, right? No, probably not. You're probably going to want to retire eventually. So in our field, we don't really talk about those things. We don't really think about those things because it's niche, it's freelance. But after a couple years, I think it's important to start realizing that you're an adult, you're a human, you're going to have things happen in your life. So you need to think about what would happen if that happened to you. So for me, it put a lot of things in perspective. And it was a big wake up call about not only my future and preparing for the things that if something else happened, but also the simple fact of being present. Because a lot of times I'll be in such a funk because I don't have the work I want, or I don't feel like I'm in the right place, or I'm nervous about a shoot, so I'll be with my family and not really be
Mm-hmm.
there. I'll be in my head, and I think I still have issues with that, but I'm aware of it now, of being present, and I learn now, like, if I'm not being present, snap out of it, be present, because those moments are really important. So yeah, it was definitely an eye-opening experience for sure. I don't wish anyone else to get hit by a car, but I do think it's important once you hit like a certain age, like in your mid 20s, to start looking into looking into what would happen if I did get injured. What would my plan be? And
Yeah.
things like retirement funds, things like life insurance, like those are things that anyone who's a provider for their family should look into, because if you're the sole income provider like I am and your family loses you or loses your skill set, unfortunately to injury, it's going to be a really traumatic setback. So that was a big
Mm-hmm.
wake up call for me.
Yeah. And then that what inspired you to make the video? Was that kind of like almost okay. How long was it after the incident that you made that video? I guess I should ask.
Yeah, so it was a whole legal battle. So we had to wait. I really didn't talk about anything for a year. And then the case closed officially. And then like 2 months later, I wanted to do something about it, but I just wanted to express the storyline.
Mhm.
There some people may think some of it's corny, like, but I really like it's just like it's something I wrote, and I just wanted to tell how I
Yeah.
felt. Like, I don't know, like looking back, I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have like made my face blend away, but like, it's truly how I felt. So visually, I just wanted to be vulnerable, and I just wanted to make something that no one had um, insight on story wise, but me. And then Raphael, my lead editor, and he's also a really talented director. He shot it with me, and he filmed it, everything. Um, and we just went with it, and it was just a cool way to tell the story. And it was just a way for me to like tell the story in a visual way that I wanted to tell it, instead of just being like, I got hit by a car, it sucked. Because getting hit by the car wasn't the part that hurt. It was all of the mental uh, PTSD that I had afterwards, the trauma. I don't want to sound dramatic because people have trauma way worse, but it really impacted me. And the trauma really, like, it was a really tough thing to get through. For 6 months, I was afraid of turning left in a car, or I was afraid that every
Mm-hmm.
car that was going in the lane that I needed to get into was going to hit me. And like, I was terrified of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really hard for me to get through that. So this visual representation of how I felt was a cool way for me to kind of express that.
Well, think about it. You were like, you said before, you were like, I don't know if I should post this, but then you're like, okay, but it's me being vulnerable. That's the most authentic way you can show your story and your creation. And that's how the company reached out to wanting for you to be an affiliate. So it's like, okay, just make what's authentic to you, and people will appreciate it. I think that's also a great message. Is like, fuck all the noise, like fuck what everyone thinks, like just make what you think is cool, and like what you, how does this relate to what I'm thinking the most accurate way, despite what other people think. That is the most sincere form of our expression, and you saw the most success in it anyways. So that's, I think that's great. Another great point that you made was just the fact of just being present. And I have this as well on one of our talking points. It's just like the anxiety about shoots and how it can affect, your present moment and your mind. Because I also struggle with this pretty well too. I think it's for me, it's like I've always just been an anxious individual. So I
Yeah.
think this space doesn't help necessarily, because it's like, okay, now it's all on you. It's all on. There's no like boss telling you what to do. There's no you know check coming in every week. It's all on you when you get to a shoot. Obviously, it depends on the shoot, but for a lot of the stuff, it's just me, and I'm sort of producing, directing, editing, whatever.
It's a lot,
Um,
man.
yeah, it is a lot. So I wanted to know, like, how have you become more present? I think is the question I want to ask you. How have you become more present when it comes to being worried about shoots? Have you had times where the thoughts are just like it's just too much, and you've had to suppress them? And what does that look like?
That's a good question, man. I mean, to be honest, I'm still learning how to figure that out. I battle with that
Mm-hmm.
a lot, but I can go into like a recent example. I had this big, it was the biggest ad I ever produced this year. It was a 2 day shoot, two campaigns, um, very narrative driven commercial concepts, and I was like really passionate about the one of them in particular. It was a 30-second dialogue driven ad. So basically it was 25 seconds of dialogue with three women on set. And I was really nervous about it because of a lot of things. It was a big budget, it was a big project. Big budget doesn't always mean like everything's easy. Big budget means a lot more pressure. And I had a lot of pressure on this project for a few reasons. One, it was out of state. I brought my in-house team, my wife who works with us. She's our casting director, and then Raphael, who's lead editor, also co-directed with me. So we came into town. We hired an entire local crew. So I was leading a crew I never met before. I had obviously
Mm.
vetted them, interviewed them, but I was nervous. And I remember like I had this thing where I like drive out the house and I'll have to stop in the yard and then like a block away. Did I bring this? Did I bring
Yeah.
that? That's my OCD being triggered. That's anxiety induced. Did I bring this battery? Did I forget this battery? I know it's kind of aggressive, but I finally like just like stopped for a second. I took a deep breath and I was like, shut the fuck up. You're good at what you do. And I said that to myself. I'm sorry if we can't curse on this, but
No,
I
this
like
is
was
I
really,
curse.
well, I was just like, dude, like stop. Like you're good at what you do. Stop. And things like that have really helped me. It's like I do have a lot of anxiety. I struggle with anxiety myself. I always
Mm-hmm.
have. But sometimes you just have to be a little more aware of like, dude, chill out. You spent a whole day prepping for this, gear wise. You have everything you need. The only things that are going to go wrong are uncontrollable natural parts of production. Shut up and go. And I've been talking to myself like that lately because I have to get out of my head. Um, but that's one thing. And then honestly, it's just like when you say being present, it's tough, man. But there's definitely times where at least I'm aware now when I'm not present. So if I'm neck down looking at my phone when my son's at the playground, I'm being a shitty dad. And I know that. And I'm like, all right, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? So you know what I do? I leave the phone in the car. I may only be leaving the phone in the car for an hour. The phone can go away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been doing things like that. We're going on a walk, the phone can go away. And, I may not want to unplug because I'm waiting on a call or I'm waiting on this or that, but some things can wait. And those are the things that I'm working on is that. It's such a work in progress and it's such a constant battle I have, but I don't think people realize, man, and I know you can relate to this. It's just like the roller coaster ride of freelance is just so emotionally taxing at times where you feel like you have everything, it ends, and then you feel like you have not enough, and then you're trying to get back up to that high point, and you don't realize the things you're doing during that climb back up are still good. Um, those things are like, that's the kind of mindset that I'm trying to work through. It's like not having these ups and downs because some months I'm doing really well and I'm doing what I want to do. Other months I'm not, and the months that I'm
Mm-hmm.
not, I definitely start to get upset, and it takes a toll on my personal life. So I'm working through that. I one of my goals is I'm going to get a therapist. I need a therapist because those roller coaster rides of emotions and stress impact my life a lot more. And I know a lot of us are sole providers, but I'm a sole provider, and the pressure that sometimes that brings on me is intense when things
Mm-hmm.
aren't going well. So it's tough, man. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to sound negative, but it's just the reality of it, dude.
No, it's not negative. It's just authentic. It's just being open to that, and I think that that's one of the themes of the podcast is just being open and authentic to what this is really like, and you know, all we can do is spread what we think is right and what we think we should be doing. So I think I love the fact of just like stopping and saying to yourself like, shut the fuck up. Sometimes you just have to hear it because no one else will tell you. No one else is in your head like you are.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I'm so OCD on the prep. I will make lighting diagrams. I will make gear checklists. I will literally like the shoot can be on Friday and Monday in the studio. I'll like throw everything on the wall that I need and like look at it visually on like a checklist of like, okay, check, check. And I still get worried. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, if
100%,
that
man.
can't stop me from worrying, then nothing will except me just switching something in my brain of just like realizing, dude, because it's almost like if I bring someone into the room, they'll be like, dude, why are you worried? You have all this stuff like prepped and ready to go, But I don't have that sometimes where it's just me all the time thinking and thinking. So
But
I think
that's the
taking yourself
mindset.
out of it.
But that's the mindset of someone who is and going to be consistently making great work. So the mindset you have, the prep, the all that pays off dividends and separates you from others.
Mm.
So I always like, I used to get, one of the things I sometimes get bummed about is like someone's like, oh, it was easy, and like it was not hard, and it was such a great video, but it was like, oh yeah, it was just like us with the camera. Um, I never downplay my work when someone's like, dude, that was so cool. How'd you make that? How'd I make that? uh, a
Mm-hmm.
day of testing VFX that sucked. Um, hours of trial and error, arguing.
Yep.
Raph and I butting heads creatively left and right to figure out the answers. Horrific casting experiences. I share the production problems because not every shoot is going to be easy, and sometimes the harder shoots, like the ones that are the most nightmares to produce, end up doing the best.
Yeah.
And that hard work pays off, man. So it's yeah, but you need to find a middle ground for sure. But I don't think the prep should be discouraged because I think it really goes into like it shows why your work is looks the way it looks, and you know the framing, the cinematography, the color grading, like the sound design, those attributes,
Mm-hmm.
like that's not just like natural, like oh I just found this
Yeah, it just
shot and film.
happens.
Yeah, it doesn't, and I think a lot of people wish it would, but it's a lot of work to make something look like it wasn't a lot of work, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense, video
No,
wise.
that's our job though, is to make it look like there wasn't any work involved, and that it did seem seamless, but really in reality was like lots and lots and lots of prep and whatnot, and like 50 different things outside of the frame in like an interview set, just helping it look the way it looks.
Yeah.
So I do love that. It's just hard sometimes to just get when you're in the process of making to be positive about it because it's
Oh yeah.
uh it's very stressful. But you said though that like you're not. I don't know if you're against, but like you just don't like working or hiring friends of yours. I think you mentioned that once on one of your creative producer episodes, or it was kind of like you just kind of told people to discourage them to do that. Why is that? Why don't you like doing that?
Well, so I think there's a difference between like I think there's a difference between like what when I say friend, I have a lot of friends that are in
Yeah.
the industry that but I met them through the industry. I didn't meet them through personal life. And the point of that excerpt was really just like, look, you can do it, but I personally, the people that I hired and when I started my business that were my friends before we made videos as a business, it just didn't work out. There's a two levels of relationship there, and I think that it's important to figure out how to separate those two worlds because if you don't properly separate the dynamic, it's going to be there's going to be problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I that was more what I was referring to in that situation. I think a lot of people, it's like we've been like I mean, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too deep, but like basically, long story short, I started my business. I hired my best friend since I was 16. I was 26, so we've been friends for 10 years. My best friend, he's
Yeah.
going to be my best man at my wedding, and we didn't. It didn't work after like a year, and we ended up having a horrible falling out. We didn't speak for 3 years, and he didn't come. He didn't go to my wedding. That was an example of like hiring someone that was a friend before anything else, and it just ended up in a there's a level of personal emotions that can get damaged there, and sometimes it's just not worth that losing that. So the difference now would be like if I go to a networking event and I start hanging out and talking to a AC or a cam op that I really like, and then we like have a couple other things that we have in common. Um, we're not like best friends, but we're still friends.
Yeah.
Like that's different. But if I'm talking like that was in relation to like really close friends that have no industry connections prior to the friendship. That it's a risky operation. Now, thankfully, I've rebuilt my relationship with my um, old best friend, and we're very close now again, and it's been a blessing. But I lost the brother that was my like go to for anything for nearly 4 years, and there were 4 years that I could have really used them too.
Mm-hmm.
So that was hard for me.
I think that applies to any business, right? Just like being having that awareness of like, do I really want to do this with this person? Like I love them. Like some people they're I don't mean to like say it like this, but I guess like some people are for different aspects of your life, like there's the family aspect, there's the work aspect, there's some friends even that like in my life that I know like okay these are like going out friends or like these are friends that like I could watch a movie with like there's different like types of people in your life that are sort of not made for but like just in your sort of lifestyle are more tailored to different parts of it, and I think having that awareness is key, especially for business. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I think that's definitely a valuable tip people can take away. So you've said that also, like social media is a little bit distorting of like our realities of the industry and the space. And there are a lot of bullshitters online in terms of representing their lifestyle in a different way, or not talking about the struggles they're actually going through, which is common. And I'm not saying that's a wrong thing for people to not be open about their struggles, but in your experience, what have you seen been the most like smoke and mirrors about the whole social media space when it comes to the film industry?
I think a lot of people just they post things when things are good, and they sometimes that creates an impression that things are always good. And I think that there's some people whose careers are just crushing it, so it's just kind of like, why not? Everything's just going great for you. But I think the issue is like if you could potentially read into it in a different way, and it can kind of give yourself the perception that you're not doing enough, or you're just not good enough to be in this industry. If you follow certain people and their tone is just constantly talking about all the great things that they're doing. And I don't want to sound bitter. It's just the reality of like some people. I mean, dude, I'll be real, man. I got lost into it, and just like I'd be so intimidated to meet people that I'd followed that I was going to
Mm-hmm.
collaborate with, and then I'd be on set with them, and they just fucking sucked. And then it's like, dude, really? You're that shitty? Like you talk about having these like projects all the time, but you
Yeah.
suck. Like, and
Yeah.
it happened to me a couple times when I was a couple years ago. It really started when I got into the ad world, and I would collaborate with other creators on the same project. So they'd be like, they're doing short form, I'm doing long form, and then it's just like you're just like on set, and you're just like assuming this person's just going to be like just such a baller on set and just like run the show, and then they just like they suck. They have it's like, man, you're really good at perception, because
Perception.
you
Yeah.
you fooled me. I thought you would know how to run a show. I thought all these big shoots you do, I thought you were the ringleader. You're not. And that was a wake up call. That happened a couple times to me. Um, a lot of times, especially in bigger cities, people will like market themselves where they appear like they are this certain type of way, or they have this certain type of style of production. And look, there's a lot of great people that are marketing themselves too. I just think that sometimes we need to realize that like it's still social media, and some people are really into only posting the things that make it look like everything's going great in their life. And I know we're reaching a new era where vulnerability and being genuine is really accepted and
Yep.
appreciated, but there's still a lot of people that aren't doing that.
It's
So
really where you invest your time. As like when the camera's off, for example, when you look at people that invest their time in social media, they do a lot of the reels in short form and pushing that out to get their social media looking like pretty, which is normal. Like I can see a balance of that if you want to show your work, but a lot of people just invest in the short form, and then like you're saying, they pull up to like a real production, and it's like, what the fuck, dude? I'll notice that a lot of people who are like actually really good at what they're doing sometimes don't even have like a decorated social media. They'll have like 300 followers, and they'll just like it's like a black and white picture of them as their profile picture with like a couple followers, and they'll post like some stuff here and there. But in the industry, they're like, especially in New York, like people who I've worked with that are grips, audio technicians, even camera operators, they'll give me their Instagram. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that their Instagrams are much smaller, and they're just kind of more low key, and they're even on private. So it's
yeah.
like it's so interesting because like some of the gems are like hidden in these like just people who just don't really show themselves on social media. Meanwhile, like the biggest ones are like the people who just like don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's crazy.
Yeah, like you said, there's a middle ground for sure, but I think just like understanding that some people are really good at content creating, and then other people are really good at content producing. So it's like um, the two worlds are different. So if you're focusing on content creating, your social presence is probably going to look really impressive. Um, and then a lot of times that just may not translate over to higher end production work. So the whole point though is just to realize that like no one's just having a great time every day of their life as a freelancer, and no one's like crushing it 24/7. there's highs and lows, and there's challenges of all things. And that was my point of discussing this and wanting to,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that sometimes we don't realize that, and we get stuck in these wormholes of, they didn't like my stuff. I'm watching other stuff and I just feel like I'm not good enough, or like I'm never going to get those kind of projects. Um, you know, I, it's just something that you just need to keep in the back of your head. I mean, yeah,
I think no, I think that's great. I think also a big part of the whole like trade-off, like you're saying, like if you want to invest time in content creating, like your social media look good. If you want to make like high-end work, your social media will probably suffer. I went through that when I made my first automotive short film. um, I just realized how much time it takes to make even just a short film that's 8 minutes long. I made dedicated shotless, hand drawn. I made a whole like pitch board to show people to like be part of the production. I had to schedule things with actors. I had to make lighting diagrams. And for a couple months, my social media had zero reels posted, zero posts. It was just all just work, work, work. And I felt like, oh, there's like a moment where you're like early on, like, fuck, like I probably should be posting. Like, am I doing the right thing? But then I
yeah,
sat down and I realized, what do I really want? What is my long-term goal? Is it making films? Like, yes. So I'm going to invest the time because the film that I made, not again, I'm not bragging or anything like that. I'm just saying like the success of it, short term in the festival route has been pretty good in terms of just getting nominated at a couple like international film festivals and whatnot. So it's cool to be able to see that and to like stick through that struggle of a couple months of just not posting. But like that's really where my heart is. So I had to make that hard choice of like, what is it? What is it that I want, and how can I go about doing it? And like not worry about that dopamine rush of like getting reels out and like seeing like views, because in the end like views don't really do much per se. It's really like the people that are watching, and likes don't do anything either, right? So it's very it's very interesting. A majority of the following that I got was actually from summer of 2023 because I posted like 3 reels a day, you know, and,
yeah,
and
it's a
it's
lot.
it's funny because a lot of those followers weren't even relevant to like what I'm doing now. So it's like it's all like smoke and
Yeah,
mirrors, right?
and that's why, like, I'll agree with that for sure. But I will say, like, one time, to me, it's like the platform that I found the most success with so far is the smallest platform I have social following on, and that's YouTube,
Mm,
because our YouTube for my agency has such a niche group of followers, and now obviously not every video we do does great, but the ones that do well just create such great discussions, and I've just gotten so much positive stuff from YouTube, and it's like connected me with people that do what I do, that I can connect to in different cities. So I'm actually like getting something out of it, versus like I'll make like a TikTok about a can rig that we did for an ad, and like it takes off and does really well, but it's like 99% of the people don't give a shit about anything else but the content I just made. They don't care about who I am as a creator. It's just content. So that's great, but I think finding that balance for me was like starting a YouTube and focusing on like, at least one thing a month on the YouTube, because it's a community, it's a niche audience, and it's beneficial, and then the response is more rewarding than just random people liking my content. Um, so
uh-huh.
yeah, I agree for sure. But yeah, just have a realistic perspective on things, and also realize that like nobody that's doing like big things. Very few of those people just like got that opportunity because they just woke up and got it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it takes, everyone's got to have their own path, and envying other people for what they have doesn't do much for you. What you can do is reroute that mindset into restructuring and being like, how did they get that? Because I'd like to get something like that too. Learn that story, learn that journey, and then mold your path to have a similar success. So that's how I'm looking at it now. Not like, damn it, he got that commercial, I wanted that so bad, what did he do that was so different? Why is he so much better? No, I look at it now like the color grading's really good, the sound design's really good. It was minimal locations, so they were able to maximize the production quality. So those are 3 attributes I need to incorporate into my next ads in order to include that into the pitch. So when that client sees it again, I have those attributes too. So maybe we can be a little bit more competitive.
It's like the method of it versus the result. Like not being bummed out that the result is the result. It's like, no, what did that person do to get there? What am I looking at in the video that is special, and what can I do to also replicate that or even make it better than what it is? So I love that. I love focusing on what is the camera doing, what is everything doing to really show that success, because it is a machine at the end of the day, not just one thing that is either right or wrong. So a few closing questions I just wanted to ask to sort of wrap up this in a bow. I want to talk about like the definition of success, because I think a lot of people have different definitions of what they think success is, and also through our experiences, our definition of success oftentimes changes based on what we've been through. So I wanted to know, how has your definition of success changed since you've started your journey?
I would say my definition of success changed mainly because of truly just trusting the process and understanding that when you do good work, it may not happen overnight, but it does pay off. And when you separate yourself from others by doing good work, you will be rewarded. And I think that's changed because of the fact that I've matured and been consistent in the industry. And I've seen things that I've made turn into something bigger, but it just happened a lot longer. It took a lot longer to happen. Um, I think before when I started, I just like everything needed to happen now. That deal needed to close and that next deal needed to happen right away. And that's just not how it works sometimes. I mean, I produced a film in 2018 that just got sold to a distribution. We just got distribution for it last year or last month. So, I mean, what is that? 7 years. And that's how long it took. So I'm learning that being consistent is so valuable and honestly a lot more rare than you think in this game.
I love that. I think I could even relate with that in terms of like my impatience. I just want things now, now, now. I want that award win. I want that next film. But I think it takes a lot of time, and like we were talking about, the method behind it and perfecting it. So I do love that. What is the biggest change you've seen like within yourself, whether it's your mentality or even like talking when you talk to people or how you act on set? What's been the biggest change you've seen in yourself over your career?
Um, I would say just like having my ducks in a row and just like my preparation
Mm-hmm.
and eliminating as much error as possible beforehand. I think I'm just like more fine tuned with redundancy and understanding that things go wrong and how to fix them. And also just like my management style, handling issues without expressing as much anger and more so just handling them in a very direct way that doesn't offset and throw things off in the long like in the long run. So
Mm-hmm.
just troubleshooting problems and resolving them fast. I'm not saying I'm like rapid, but I can solve a production logistical challenge pretty quick now. And I don't think before I was able to do that. And that's just from consistently producing things and combining years of things that went wrong in different ways to now. And I did a lot of things when I started my career as a solo videographer, and I don't have to work solo anymore, and I'm very thankful for that. Um, but all those times doing things by myself has allowed me to just really remember issues and that I've had and prepare for them to happen if they do and how to fix them quickly.
I love that. I think that it's so important to like you're saying, like keep your cool and like just realize like what went wrong on set versus like an emotional response. I think that's a
Yeah.
great takeaway for people as well. If you feel like this is in a high stress scenario, just like think logistics versus think emotionally. I think is so important. So, where can we find you on social media for the audience?
Yeah, so everything's through my everything's through my video agency, Drescher Visuals. And like I said, bigger on YouTube than TikTok, but we're on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Um, yeah, the YouTube is something I really am proud of. And if you guys are interested in checking out more of the business side of creative outside of this great show and all the content you're doing with the Vision Media Club, love for you guys to check us out too. We do a lot of gear reviews too, but it's not gear like it's gear that's going to make you money, or it's gear that makes me money. And everything I've done on that YouTube has been focused on real world application, and we're such a volume based production company still. We always include on set scenarios that justify the usage versus it just being in a controlled world and, you know, playing around with it at home. Like, it's always battle tested and reporting afterwards. So yeah, that would be the main stuff.
Awesome, Dan. Well, I appreciate your time today again. I think this has been a very insightful discussion into your journey, and I think a lot of people can take away from it. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for the time. It was great to connect. I'm glad you ran into me at Bev's and we're following up. It means a lot.
Awesome, dude. Well,
Cool.
that's a wrap.